A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CN 535's lecture class, and I hope you're all doing well. Also, just in case if you are not able to hear me clearly, let me know. Currently, my video is turned off just in case if the sound is a bit unclear, then I will switch it off. So anyone who is hearing me in a lagged way or in a delayed version, or if you are able to hear me unclearly, do feel free to drop a chat message or unmute and call it out, and I should be able to improve things from my end. Okay, so all good, I'm guessing. Now, yesterday we had scheduled our class, so as per the latest timetable, our Zoom-based online class timetable will be something as such. Thank you for your feedback, Izal. Okay, so we have our classes on Thursdays, that is today, 4 p.m., that's our lecture class. And tomorrow morning from 9 to 11 a.m., we have lab discussion and consultation. So close to about 1 hour, 15 minutes will be dedicated towards your lab, and the other 15 minutes would be for your consultation. We'll try to run our classes for only 1.5 hours, including today's lecture class. Reason being why is because currently I am recording the live session, and when the classes go somewhere close to 2 hours, the recorded video is either in a very big size or it becomes very difficult to upload it online. So we'll try to keep it within 1.5 hours time frame. So I won't be giving you any breaks in the middle. Straight away, we'll try to hit the 1.5 hours mark, and from there onwards, we can knock off the class. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So let me reconfirm: Thursdays 2 to 4 p.m., Fridays 9 to 11 a.m. Now, this is my final call. Is there anyone who is still having clashes with any other courses? No? If no clashes, then all good. Okay, now you'll notice in week 1, you have the Zoom link right at the very top. Here, this is the one. Okay, now from week 2 onwards, you won't have something like this. Okay, you won't have the Zoom link. Why? Because I think I did mention it yesterday's class, okay, which we didn't, we usually had it for about 5 minutes only. Okay, your Zoom link for all the future classes would be beneath your class timetable, which is here. So if you'll open this up, you'll notice the very same thing that you had when you clicked on the Zoom link under week 1 section of the Moodle shell. Okay, so that's where the Zoom link is. Now, straight after that, what you'll also notice, which you don't have it at the moment, is straight after we're done with the class, you have to give me a few hours for me to actually process the recording, and then we'll render it. After it's rendered, we'll basically go and upload it online, and your recorded video will be coming in here. I do realize there are some of you in the class at the moment who are of working class, so just in case if you happen to miss on to the lecture classes and also the lab classes, you can always catch up to the use of the video. Or just in case if your connection goes off somewhere in the middle when I'm conducting the class, you can always catch up by looking at the recorded version. Now, okay, with CN 535, I'm guessing all of you are semester 1 students, except for few. I've seen some of the familiar names who have done units with me this year, beginning of this year, some of you last year, or some of you even before last year. Okay, so so those of you who are not familiar with me, okay, so normally I try to have things as automated as possible. For example, your week 1 lecture-based quiz. Your lecture-based quiz, okay, it's automatically marked. So once you attempt it, it will be marked, and you should be able to see your mark in your grade book. So this is your grade book. If I would click and open it up, okay, and can I use Parvesh? Can I use your grade book? Is that fine with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I would view Parvesh's gradebook, so as soon as, okay, it's not coming. Hold on a second. Okay, so currently the grade book is down. So if you would actually go and view your grade book, what you will notice is that you have the outline of the grade book for the entire semester. So as soon as you go around attempting something, your marks will end up in your grade book. So this is a section where your marks will be. So for CN 535, you only have lectures, you have lecture-based quiz, and then you have labs. So in tomorrow's class, we'll run a very basic lab just to ensure that we are all adjusting well to the online environment. Apart from that, whatever things that you'll be asked to do during the week, okay, you'll notice in your welcome notice, for example. Now, this is something that you won't see in your Moodle shell at the moment. Okay, this is scheduled to be posted somewhere early next week, Monday. So you won't see that, but you will definitely see welcome to week 1. So if you click on it, you'll notice the things that you have to do in the class for that particular week. For example, it says welcome to week 1. You are to attend Zoom-based lecture class, which you're doing at the moment. Okay, timetable is given. And then you are to attempt your lecture-based quiz, and then you have to attend your Zoom-based lab. So that's it. That's the only set of things that you need to do for week 1. So week 2, there might be extensions to it. So you'll notice that when it comes to week 2. Your assessments. Currently, this is the breakdown. Now, CN 535 is a total coursework unit, 100% coursework. You do not have any final exams in it. Previously, we didn't have actually, we used to have a lot of assessments whereby you'll have a total of 4 projects, all of them comprising of different elements of multimedia. However, just because we have swapped to online mode, you will only have 2 projects. That means you will be just asked to submit 2 things from your end. So project 1 and project 2. Now, project 1, it will release somewhere around end of next week to the beginning of week 3. And it's due in week 6 and carries 20% towards your coursework, and most likely it will be based on Photoshop. Now, your second assessment is based on weekly lecture-based quiz. Now, this quiz carries 20% towards your coursework and is on lecture-based. That means every week as you have a new set of lecture notes, so your quiz will be based on that. Now, this 20% caters for your lecture quiz from week 1 all the way down to week 14. Moreover, do note that your lecture-based quiz, the due date is on the 30th of October for all of them. So that means you have quite a lot of time to attempt your lecture-based quiz. However, I would suggest please do not drag it right till the very end. You'll have a lot of problems later onwards. So as soon as you're done with the lecture class, probably take a bit of time to adjust to the things discussed in the class. After that, take time out and proceed to complete lecture-based quiz. And in week 7, you'll have your mid-semester exam. So this will be basically on your theory and the lab-based coverage. So week 7, that's your mid-semester exam. In week 7, you will not have any lectures or any labs. So we will use our lecture class from week 7 to actually do some revision. So that also carries 20% towards the coursework. And in week 5, you have a short tests. This will be an online quiz, basically completely theory-based. Okay, so that carries 10% towards the coursework. And you have a short test too, that will be in week 10. So that also carries 10% towards your coursework. And the very final project, your project 2 will be due in week 13, carries 20% towards your coursework, and it will be definitely something on web development, very basic level web development. So that is your assessments for the semester. Any questions, any queries from anyone? If you have some questions in regards to your Moodle shell, in regards to your assessments, in terms and also in regards any question in regards to your weekly sections of the Moodle shell? This is the time, feel free to ask. And this, also please note some of the common ways in which you can contact me is you can send me emails. That's one option. Second option is you can always drop me a message on Moodle. I do realize that some of the lecturers may be using Viber groups to actually be in contact with you. Unfortunately for CN 535, we will not be using any form of social media or Viber groups. We'll try to have it within Moodle and emails. Reason being, it becomes very difficult to track events as we go on social media. So it's best to keep everything within Moodle and within emails. So I have a good set of written records with me, and it's also good for you at the end of the day. Okay, any questions? No questions? Then let's begin with our lecture notes. Okay, are you clearly able to see the screen? Currently, I'm displaying week 1 lecture. Okay. Now, CN 535, the unit's name is Multimedia and Communication. So what the major purpose of this entire course is basically to know what forms of media is available and how can we easily go around communicating in terms of communicating with public, communicating with businesses, communicating with your audience, communicating with your customers. So this is what the entire course is all about. And down the line, down the entire 14 weeks, we'll be learning different ways. Now, one of the common ways that we'll be talking in tomorrow's class and we'll be working on it is through graphics. Communication through graphics or communications through art or images or even text. Text also comes under art. So that is one form for media. So when you talk about multimedia, multimedia generally means you're combining different forms of media elements and to weave it together. So that is what multimedia is about. So overview, in this lecture, we will be doing some introduction to multimedia. We'll also be learning where is multimedia applied, the applications of multimedia, and we'll also learn what are some primary methods in which multimedia is delivered to different end users or audiences. Introduction to multimedia. Multimedia is a combination of text, art, sound, animation, and video. It is delivered to the user by electronic or digitally manipulated means. A multimedia project development requires creative, technical, organizational, and business skills. Now, to sum it up, what we can normally say is this. When you combine elements of text, art, sound, and animation, this is where you end up forming something called as multimedia. So text is a media, art is a media, sound is a media, animation is a media, and video is also a media. So when you combine all these medias together, you form something called as multimedia. Now, when these elements are weaved together or combined together, and they need to be combined very creatively, if they are done so, it has the capability to electrify thoughts and actions of a person. When I say electrify thoughts and actions of a person, that means it makes a person think. It makes a person feel something. Okay. Now, for you to actually do that, to electrify thoughts, you need to be creative, you need to be technical, you need to be organized, and moreover, you need to have some sort of skills in terms of what form of information you actually want to put it out there to the end user or to the general public. Multimedia becomes interactive multimedia when a user is given the option of controlling the elements. Interactive multimedia is called hypermedia when a user is provided a structure of link elements for navigation. Multimedia developers develop multimedia projects. Now, when you talk about interactive media, I would suggest for you to, let me go back to the previous slide. Please do note the meaning. Try to put up a mark somewhere or note down that you need to know the definition of multimedia. Moreover, also try to put up a mark somewhere near interactive multimedia. Okay, that's important. Okay, and also hypermedia. Okay, these are the important things that you should be knowing from these lecture notes. And I'll alert you for all the future definitions as well. So when you talk about interactive multimedia, it is when an end user is allowed to control the elements of a multimedia. A very good example would be in forms of games. It is where the end user is able to control or manipulate objects with the multimedia which is given out. And hypermedia is also interactive multimedia. Okay, remember you have interactive multimedia where users are able to control elements, and hypermedia is also interactive multimedia, but the difference is that the user is provided with a structure of linked elements for navigation. It's just like when you're viewing a website. So in websites, you have hyperlinks, you have navigation bar. A navigation bar is a very good example of hypermedia, whereby the user is provided with a structure of linked elements for navigations. And also multimedia developers, okay, these are those individuals who develop multimedia projects. Now, multimedia is simple, multimedia is fun, multimedia is amazing. But to make it shine out, one needs the appropriate knowledge to weave them. Okay, and I'll repeat that. Multimedia is simple, multimedia is fun, multimedia is amazing. But to make your multimedia shine out or stand out, you need appropriate knowledge to combine them or weave them together. So this is where you have multimedia developers who come in. And these individuals, they need to be creative, they need to be technical, they need to possess certain skills, and they need to be super organized. Software vehicle, the messages and the content together constitute a multimedia project. A multimedia project shipped to end users with or without instruction is called a multimedia title. A project can also be launched on the web. So in general, when you're talking about a multimedia project, it consists of a software vehicle. It consists of a software vehicle is just like a software where you actually go and create the multimedia. And then you have a message, the information that you actually want to put it out there, and then you have the content of the message. So for a good example of a software vehicle, I know software vehicle will be new to some of you. When I would like to call out an example of software vehicle, Photoshop is an example for it, whereby you have a software in which you can actually go and generate multimedia. Multimedia projects can be linear or non-linear. Projects that are not interactive are called linear. By the way, the term interactive means you being able to manipulate things or control things. Okay, for example, if you are using, let's say, fijivillage.com. So fijivillage.com, the most you can do is you can only go and read things. So that means it is not interactive. It's not dynamic. It's more like a static website. But if you're dealing with Facebook, Facebook is interactive. You're able to control things. You're able to upload things, download things. You're able to comment on things. So that is interactive. In other words, it's dynamic. So projects that are not interactive are called linear. Projects where users are given navigational control are called non-linear and user interactive. So to sum up this entire slide, when you talk about linear projects, they are not interactive. No user involvement from the beginning to the end. And when you're talking about non-linear, this means it is interactive and there is user involvement, little to full user involvement. Next up, authoring tools. Authoring tools are used to merge multimedia elements into a project. Another name for authoring tools would be software vehicles. These software tools are designed to manage individual multimedia elements and provide user interaction. So once again, authoring tools, these are software tools that are used to sew together a multimedia project. Example, we have Adobe Photoshop, we have Adobe Dreamweaver, we have CorelDRAW, we have Adobe Illustrator, and so forth. There's so many of them out there, okay? So once again, authoring tools, these are the software tools whereby you can weave or sew multiple elements of media and form a multimedia project. Applications of multimedia. Now, business applications for multimedia include presentation, training, marketing, advertising, product demos, databases, catalogs, instant messaging, and networked communication. So one of the many places where multimedia could be used for is used for businesses. Now let's pick up some common examples. When you go up on social media, Facebook, you might see some businesses advertising their products. Nowadays, there's so many tiny businesses all around, online businesses, people generally selling their items. So remember, it's a business, they're earning money. What is business? Business is a place where you actually go and buy and sell things and able to generate some form of revenue. So these tiny businesses, they use social media to actually go and advertise their products. Now, what examples of multimedia do they use? They use images, they edit images, they make brochures, they make pamphlets, and so forth. Now, big companies, how do they use multimedia? Let's say Clubhouse or Prouds. You'll see banners hanging all around. You'll see posters on their walls. You'll see they're advertising a product for the use of models. Models as in like human models. So they have that. So these are some of the places where multimedia is used. Also, you see advertisements on TVs, advertisements on newspapers, on magazines, okay, even a poster on a motor vehicle, a poster up on the wall of a shop. So these things portray some places where multimedia could be applied in terms of business point of view. So remember, first point, where is multimedia applied? It's used in businesses. Next up, multimedia could be applied in schools. Educational software can be developed to enrich the learning process. Okay, now in this scenario, it's talking about a software that can be used to improve learning, probably a mobile app. But if you try to downgrade it from a software, just look at what we are doing at the moment. We're using multimedia, we're using presentations. So there is an example where multimedia could be used. Now, please do try to remember these examples or try to imply these examples in your mind, because these are some of the common things that could be asked in your lecture-based quiz. So please do note that you need to know applications of multimedia, where multimedia could be applied. Now, you have multimedias in homes as well. Most multimedia projects reach homes via television sets or monitors with built-in user inputs. This is very common. So one of the most common ways in which multimedia reaches you at your home is to the use of televisions. However, with the world becoming more and more digitalized, our way of reaching out to the multimedia has changed. We rely very little on TV these days, and we rely more on our smartphones in terms of YouTube, in terms of social media sites. So that's another way in which multimedia reaches to you at your homes. Now, multimedia also reaches us at our homes through the use of newspapers, through the use of pamphlets, magazines, brochures, and so forth. You have multimedia applied in public places as well. Multimedia will become available at stand-alone terminals or kiosks to provide information and help. What is a kiosk? A kiosk is more likely a computerized system which has a stand-alone terminal. Just like you have ATMs, okay, up in a wall somewhere, and kiosks are something similar, but they're standalone machine, like what you see in airports, where you actually go and print out the tickets for your flights. Okay, so that's a kiosk. Okay, or if you see a portable ATM machine somewhere in the middle of the mall, okay, so those are called kiosks. So public places. So no, this particular set of notes was printed out in 2011. So they had kiosks to give out information in public places. But what about these days? You don't need kiosks. We have TVs placed in shops. You have big screens up in towns. You have posters portrayed up on the shops, the walls. Okay, you have sometimes you have notice boards up in towns somewhere where key informations are put in. Okay, and most generally in shops where they have specials and stuff, they print out something in posters and paste it on their glass walls. So that's where multimedia is reaching you at public places. Okay, so far we have learned about 4 places: businesses, schools, home, and public places. This is where multimedia is generally applied to. Any questions so far? No questions? Okay, so all of you are smart. All of you understand everything. Okay, I'm not saying you're not smart. I'm saying you are smart. So if you have more questions, so that's good. Okay. Now delivering multimedia. So we looked at what multimedia is. We looked at some places where multimedia could be applied. Now we look at how multimedia is delivered out to people. First one that you're looking at is virtual reality. Now, virtual reality, the definition, if you look at the definition of virtual reality, or if you just try to think out in common English terms, virtual, something that is not real. And then reality, something that is real. So something that is not real and real. What a confusing definition, right? Now, what happens when we say virtual reality in computing terms? So you have a real environment and you try to make a computerized version of it. So that becomes virtual reality, or in simple terms, we call it out by the abbreviation VR. So virtual reality is an extension of multimedia. It uses the basic multimedia elements of imagery, sound, and animation. It requires terrific computing horsepower to be realistic. Now, what happens is, like we've talked about, multimedia is about art, it's about images, it's about sound, it's about animation. So what happens is those multimedia elements taken in and combined in such a way to form an environment which looks as real, but actually it is not real. So the more real you want it to look, the better should be your computing horsepower. Now, what I mean by the terms horsepower here is in terms of the specifications of the computer. If you say, okay, I have an Intel Celeron processor, 4 GB hard drive, 5 GB RAM, and you think you can run VR with it, forget about it. Okay, you can't do with that much of specification. So if you want to have a VR software played in your computer system, you're talking about i7, 8th generation, or i9, somewhere around that. Your hard disk space to be about 2 to about 10 GB, 10 TB rather, not GB, 2 to 10 TB, and your RAM memory to be somewhere around 10 GB. Your processor speed should be close to about 3.0 plus gigahertz per second. So that's about, so when I say horsepower, this is the specification that I'm generally referring to. So you need a very highly spec computer system to ensure that your virtual environment looks as real as possible. In VR, cyberspace is made up of thousands of geometric objects plotted in 3-dimensional space. So this is the main reason why you need that much of computing horsepower, because you're dealing things which are in 3D version, not 2D. If you're looking at Microsoft Word, if you're looking at a website, so you're looking at 2-dimensional space. When you look at 3D version, is very much you watching a 3D movie whereby you generally feel everything. Okay, so that is three-dimensional space. The standards for transmitting VR in virtual reality modeling language, VRML documents, have been developed on the World Wide Web. VR documents have a file extension of .wrl. Okay, don't worry about the second and third point. What I do want you to note is the definition of VR, virtual reality, and some specification matters. That means you need high computing power to know that. Delivering multimedia. Multimedia could be delivered to you through the use of copper wire, to the use of glass fiber, to the use of radio or cellular technologies. Also serve a means for delivering multimedia files across a network. Okay, so these are some of the cable, wired, or wireless structure of how network could travel over networks, or how multimedia could be traveled over networks. Pardon me for that. Now, copper wire. Have you seen a copper wire? Copper wire TV antennas. Okay, so if you have TV antennas, you should be able to see copper wires in it. Fiber optic, glass fiber or fiber optic, they mean the same thing. Okay, whereby data travels through use of light. Copper wire travels through electricity. Okay, so normally data transfer traveling through light is way more faster. Cellular or radio technologies is what we use for mobile phones. Okay, you have a microwave dish or satellite dish transferring data through an uplink and a downlink. Uplink is uploading, downlink is used for downloading. Okay, so that's how multimedia is delivered to us. Now, realistically, if we try to look at this, we're using social media. So if you're using in your phones, so you're using cellular technologies. If you're looking at multimedia through a television set, so you're looking through the use of copper wire. If you're looking at multimedia through the use of glass fiber, and let's say if you're sitting in FNU campus and you are trying to watch things over YouTube, probably an advertisement or probably a promotion of a particular film or promotion of a particular product, so you're using fiber optic because the cables are run using fiber optic cables. Delivering multimedia continued. The primary media for delivering multimedia projects are, so we have compact discs, read-only memory, CD-ROM. Okay, now CD-ROM is much more becoming obsolete. That means it's fading out slowly. We have DVDs or digital versatile discs. Okay, that is also fading out. Okay, I don't know how many of you still use CDs or DVDs. Okay, but there will be a time when DVDs and CDs will be a thing of the past, just like floppy disks. You have USB flash drives. Okay, USB, Universal Serial Bus Flash. The word flash means memory. So USB serial bus memory drives. Okay, flash drive. And then you have external hard drives. Okay, so you know what external hard drives are. Okay, and HDD means hard drive, by the way. You have online storage. You have Google Drive by Google and OneDrive by Microsoft. There may be some more to it. You have AOL. You have moreover, you have Dropbox. Okay, so those are some of the ways in which data could be stored online. You have memory stick attached to your phones or portable devices. Okay, your memory cards or memory sticks. So those are also some of the ways in which multimedia could be delivered to you or could be stored. Now we look at CD-ROM. Okay, compact read-only memory. Do know what does the abbreviation CD-ROM means? If the CD-R, so that means CD, compact disc, are recordable. Now CD-ROM is the most cost-effective distribution medium for multimedia. True, it's very cheap. It can contain up to 80 minutes of full screen video or sound. CD burners are used for reading discs and converting the discs to audio, video, and data formats. Now, CD-ROM is definitely cost effective. However, it is one of those medias or one of those storage devices that gets bad very, very quickly. It depends how you generally keep it. But even though if you keep it as clean as possible, as safe as possible, a time comes when it actually expires. That means actually gives up. Same thing with DVDs. Multi-layered DVD technology increases the capacity of current optical technology to 16 GB. Okay, now I think over time, when DVDs even went to its optimum prime, the storage space increased from 18 GB to more. It was somewhere around about 25 to 30 GB. Now, DVD authoring and integration software. DVD authoring means software that allows you to make DVDs. Integration software, that is where you integrate different forms of media and try to create a DVD, is used to create interactive front end menus for films and games. DVD banners are used for reading discs and converting the discs to audio, video, and data formats. True, with DVD banners, not only you can create audio. Now the thing is this: if you are trying to burn your DVD, now remember DVD burner is different from DVD. DVD is actually the disc. The burner is basically that particular piece of hardware that burns these CDs or creates those DVDs and CDs. Now, if you have a CD burner can only burn CDs. If you have a DVD burner, your DVD burner can create and burn DVDs, and at the same time, it can also burn CDs. When I say burn, the term burn basically means it creates DVDs, it writes data. Now, why the process is called burning is because the CDs and DVDs, they have tracks and sectors on the discs to actually have data inserted in it. So there's micro elements which are burned to store data. So that's why it's called burned. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, DVD banners can burn CDs and DVDs. So if you're using a DVD banner, you can make an audio disc for CDs. You can make video discs for CDs and data formats for CDs and DVDs both. Summary. Multimedia is a combination of text, graphic, art, sound, and animation and video. Okay, so when you talk about multimedia, you're talking about weaving all these elements together. Your project or multimedia project can be linear or non-linear. So when you talk about linear, your projects are interactive or not interactive? Not interactive. And when you're talking about non-linear, it is where your projects are interactive. That means you have user involvement in them. Multimedia projects are often stored on CD-ROM or DVDs. They can also be hosted on the web. Multimedia is used widely in businesses, schools, public places, and at homes. Virtual reality is an extension of multimedia. Now, right at the very end of the slide, I'm guessing, yeah, this is the very last slide. Now, at the very end of the slide, I have put some questions whereby I call it as I test myself questions. I hope you remember. Obviously, all of you must have gone through Form 3. So in Form 3, at the back of your of each and every chapter, there used to be I test myself questions, whereby you try to resolve the questions yourself. Very much similar here. Okay, so there are some sample questions. Please do go and attempt it to have a better understanding and knowledge of this. You never know, these questions might end up in the short tests. Okay, so this finishes our lecture slides for today's class. And we didn't take much long. We took about 40 minutes, which is good. Now, before we actually knock off the class for today, any questions or any queries from anyone? Any questions, any queries? Let's make it like this. Okay, so we have a total of 10 participants, including me. Okay, so we'll start from the first name. We have Arishna, Abhishek. We'll start from the very beginning. Okay, I'll call out your name and let's introduce ourselves to the class. Since we are all new to one another, let's say hi and hello to one another. Call out your full name. Where do you actually stay? And what program are you doing? And what is your ambition after, let's say, completing your degree? Okay, so shall we start? So I'll start with Arishna. Yes, Arishna. Arishna, can you please unmute your mic and let's hear from you?
Hello everyone. My name is Arishna Ashwini Narayan. I'm from BA and I'm doing my course is Bachelor of Information System. Thank you.
Thank you, Arishna. Okay, next up, Avish.
Hi there, my name is Avish. I'm from Korobutu and I'm doing CSIS.
Okay, Korobutu in Nandi?
No, in BA.
In BA. Okay, thank you. Next, Abhishek. Can we hear from you, Abhishek? Okay, Abhishek. Okay, Izal, while we are waiting for Abhishek, Izal, can we hear from you?
Yes, my name is Izal Nadir. I'm from Nandi, and my program of study is CSIS.
CSIS. Thank you.
Yes.
Is Izal, am I pronouncing your name correct? Izal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Izal. Abhishek, let's hear from you.
My name is Abhishek and I'm from Tabwa and my program Bachelor of Science in Agriculture.
Bachelor of Science in Agriculture.
Sorry, Bachelor in IS.
Okay,
Information
CSIS.
System. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. You're doing BIS or BSc CSIS? Computer Science and Information Systems?
Yes, BIS.
BIS. So you're doing Bachelor
Yes.
of Science. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you.
Nishika, let's hear from you. Nishika. Okay, while Nishika is getting herself ready, Parvesh, can we hear from you? Yes, go on, Parvesh. Okay, Parvesh can't seem to hear you. Seema, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simalaza. I'm from Week1 Lecture, and I'm doing CSIS program.
Okay, thank you, Seema. So you are from Week1, okay, and you're doing Bachelor of Science, Computer Science and Information Systems.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Shivanji?
Hello, everyone. My name is Shivanji Singh. I'm from Singatoka and I'm doing CSIS.
Okay, so Shivanji, thank you, Shivanji. So this is your final year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so good for you that you don't have to travel anymore.
Yes, sir.
So you must be the happiest one of them all because you've been traveling for quite long since the past 3 years.
Yes.
Okay, Parvesh, can we hear from you? Okay, Nishika? Nishika? Okay, sorry, Parvesh is having some issues with his mic, so we're not able to hear him. Okay, so he says that he's from BA and he's doing BSc CSIS. Thank you, Parvesh. Nishika?
Hi everyone. I'm Nishika Devi. I'm from Saweni Lotoka and I'm doing Computer Science and Information System.
Okay, thank you, Nishika. So you're doing BSc CSIS. Okay, so I'm guessing apart from Parvesh and Shivanji, the rest of you are year 1 students, right?
Yes.
Yes, so
Okay, so you are our CSIS lot for the year 2021. Okay, it's good to know you all, and I hope over time we will get to know each other even better, and we'll have a good time going through CN 535. Generally, this unit is very interesting in terms, especially when we are doing it in a face-to-face mode. Now, since we're not doing in face-to-face mode, there comes the issue of the softwares. Because for face-to-face mode, we actually use a software called Adobe Master Collection. So Adobe Master Collection in general is a 10 GB file. That means it occupies close to about 10 gigabytes of your hard drive if you're installing it into a computer. Moreover, it requires at least 4 GB RAM in a computing device. Just because we're doing it in an online mode, so it becomes quite impossible for us to use Adobe Master Collection. However, we will be using some replacement softwares. So Fayum has asked, okay, hi Master, will we be installing any Photoshop softwares? No, you will not be using any Photoshop software. Instead, I will provide you an alternative tomorrow morning in the class, whereby we will be using an online-based software called photopea.com. Photo, PHOTOPPEA.com. So that software is an absolute clone of Adobe Photoshop, but is hosted completely online. So that will make things a bit more easier for us. So that's using that software, you will be basically working on your project one. For your web-based projects, we will be using a simple software as Notepad. If you can have Notepad in your computers, that should be fine. If you have Notepad++ or even Edit Plus, that's also great. Okay, so we should be able to do some web-based programming on it. Apart from that, two more softwares generally that we use. One is Adobe Flash and the other one is Adobe Soundboot. Now, with those, I and even the university is not able to find an easy substitute. So in those cases, what we'll do is we'll provide you with the videos and we'll ask you some simple questions in the lecture-based quizzes, and you won't be tested on those elements. But we will provide you those videos just in case in future, if you are in the campuses, in any of FNU campuses, you can have a look at those videos and try those elements. All good? Now, just one more last thing before we actually knock off. Okay, most likely by 3 p.m. we should be able to close this class. Is there anyone who does not has access to a computer or a laptop? Do not be ashamed in telling it. Telling these things is totally fine. Okay. Even when I started doing my when I started with my university education, I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a laptop at home. So I only relied on the resources provided at the university. So please do not feel ashamed to let me know, or if you feel that this is not the right platform for you to give out the information to me, you can always send me a message or you can send me an email. Feel free to drop me an email or message. Okay. Yeah. If you don't have those, and if you let me know beforehand, so what I can do is I can actually have the projects done in groups rather than in singles. So that will make things a bit more easier, as to the other member would have the things or have the resources with them, and both of you would somehow or the other get together and try to work on the project. Any questions? Any questions? Any doubts? No? If no questions, no doubts, and if it's all is good, thank you, Zal, for the feedback. If all is well, so this is where we'll knock off the class for today. Today's class was quite short. I think from next week's lecture class, your lecture slides will be a bit more compared to what we had today. Okay, so it will take us approximately 1.5 hours to finish it up. Otherwise, this is good, and it's lovely to know and get feedback from each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining in, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9. So take care, stay safe. Goodbye.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.